Our next guest, Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, sent a letter to Republican leadership stressing the importance of working together on pressing border and immigration legislation and asking Republicans to not act unilaterally on those issues during the budget reconciliation process.
Senator Kelly, good morning and thanks for joining us. What border security needs and immigration policies are you concerned that Republicans might turn up their noses at? Is it Dreamers, immigration reform?
Well, LaDona, it's not just that. There's only so much you can do because of the way the Senate works when one party tries to do anything by themselves. So there would be stuff that we could find common ground on that would be left out. And those are usually things that are more about policy. So when we work together, we get longer lasting changes to the security situation at the southern border. We can also then implement, some of the other things that we both agree on, which are policy issues often about the immigration system. And we could build an immigration system that can better reflect the needs of the state of Arizona and our economy and our country.
Do you feel like your support of the Laken-Riley Act should have brought you and other Democrats some goodwill from the Republicans?
Well, first of all, let me just say that public safety is very important to me, and I've been focused on public safety the entire time I've been in office. I think it has. It has shown that we're open to bipartisan solutions. Now, Laken-Riley, that act it's rather narrow. It's just one piece of a big menu of things that we should do and that we can find common ground on.
Senator Mark Kelly with us here on the KTAR Newsline. And let's talk costs, because we're looking at sending troops to the border. That is likely to cost some money. Just the uptick in immigration crackdowns by CBP and ICE. How do we pay for this?
Well, so we have a budgeting process. Part of that process is this thing that's maybe some of your listeners have heard about. It's called budget reconciliation. But anyway, that can help get the funding. We need to, do basically anything in the government. The troop issue, we've had troops at the border doing kind of like a support role. This is a increase, I think, 1,500. And, one thing that I'm concerned about as a member of the Armed Services Committee, somebody who served in the Navy for 25 years, is how does this impact military readiness? This is the job of Border Patrol, Customs and Border Protection. It's a hard job for them to do. Right now, the border crossing numbers are down significantly from 4 years ago, down about 30% when you look at the last quarter of the end of the Trump administration. Also, this isn't a lasting solution, and that's why it's important for Democrats and Republicans in the United States Congress to work together to come up with policies that provide for a secure border, but also give us the immigration system we need to fuel our economy.
We are talking with U.S. Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, and you mentioned that you're on the Armed Services Committee. So let's talk a little bit about Donald Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. There are new allegations against him from his former sister-in-law, claiming that Hegseth made his second wife fear for her safety, but that ex-wife says, quote, "There was no physical abuse in my marriage." So who do you believe, or have you already made up your mind on Hegseth and this doesn't matter?
Well, one of the things I focused on was his readiness to do this job. He doesn't have the background and the experience. I don't expect everybody to be able to check every box. It's one of the hardest jobs in our nation. It's also so consequential. The problem I see with Mr. Hegseth is he doesn't seem to check any of the boxes. He doesn't have the management experience, the leadership experience. He hasn't been involved in creating defense policy or implementing it. He hasn't worked within our acquisition system. He was a junior officer, in the National Guard. That's something. But he doesn't have the kind of experience that you would expect And then you add on top of that all those personal issues, some of which you mentioned. When I, during the Senate Armed Services Committee hearing for his nomination, I asked him a bunch of questions, and I said, just tell me if these things are true and false. And they were a bunch of specific, very specific incidents that happened that involved his consumption of alcohol excessively, and not when he was in college or a teenager. These were as an adult. And it appears that he still has, these issues. And he wasn't able to answer these questions. He just, instead of saying false, he would say anonymous smear. Well, these are not anonymous anymore. I mean, there's a signed affidavit that talks about other specific issues where he would drink excessively, lose consciousness. This is a 24-hour-a-day job, 365 days a year. We need somebody ready to be able to wake up in the middle of the night and give critical advice to the president. And I think I know that this nominee is too big of a risk to our national security.
Senator Kelly, I want to change gears just a little bit, but staying kind of in the military milieu. The entire Arizona delegation, both Republicans and Democrats, is behind an effort to prevent military suicides. The number that we've seen, kind of thrown around is 22 veterans a day that we lose. Can you tell us more about that? And are we ready to throw some real money at this issue?
Well, I've got legislation that we had passed dealing with, suicide prevention in the military, and it was because of a suicide of a young sailor who lived in Arizona, lost his life, and I worked with his, parents, on this. We got it passed, and it makes it easier for folks in the military to get the counseling that they need to prevent these things from happening. So I have been focused on this. I continue to work on it, but it continues to be a significant problem.
It is, and I've heard the numbers actually higher than that, higher than 22 a day, which is just mind-bogglingly sad. But also, the fact that it's the entire Arizona delegation, that's a sign that you guys can work together on something, right? We
work together on all kinds of things, all the time. I work with Juan Ciscomani on a number of efforts. I've worked with other Republican members of our delegation. I'm not blaming you guys, but often the media focuses on controversy, not the positive things where we have bipartisan success. There's a lot of bipartisanship, especially in the United States Senate. Every day we are looking for opportunities to work across the aisle, and we do that successfully, frequently. Just doesn't get a lot of attention.
You can blame us personally. Yeah, no, you can blame us personally. That's okay, though. But that kind of brings us right back around to where we started, and that is that letter that you sent to Republican leadership stressing the importance of working together on pressing border and immigration issues. So how confident are you feeling that that's actually going to happen, Senator Kelly?
Well, 6 months ago or so, we got pretty close to passing a border security bill that was strongly bipartisan. We know that the common ground is there. And my Republican colleagues also know that when we do things in a bipartisan way, they tend to last a lot longer. And you can create better policy that reflects the needs of the country. So, I'm confident we can get some stuff done. This is the United States Senate, though. Things tend to take a lot longer. I often think back to my former career as a NASA astronaut. If NASA had the rules of the Senate, the rocket ship would never leave the launch pad. And that's the struggle. And I shouldn't say never, but it would take a long time.
Right.
Things take too long here. It's a slow process, but I do believe that working together, we can get something done.
Arizona Democratic Senator Mark Kelly, we'd love to have you back. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing what happens in the coming weeks as Republicans and Democrats wrestle with some very serious issues that we are facing in Arizona.
All right, KTAR. Oh, sorry, Senator.
No, I just say thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome.
Thanks for watching Arizona's Morning News. Click to watch more from KTAR News and hit the button in the middle to subscribe.